So welcome back and starts today's session. So in the last session we discussed about that in clustering algorithms. So we will get with the data matrix, and so data matrix where all the records, all the examples. So these examples may be having p features, and there could be n examples. So we will get in this way, and then we have to create this kind of a dissimilarity matrix, or we also call it as a similarity matrix or a distance matrix, by calculating the distance between the each records. So like this represents distance between second and one. This represent distance between third and one, third and two. And we have also seen that how to calculate the distance between the different data types. So in the last lecture, we studied that how to calculate distance between numeric data types. So that is easier. We can use the Manhattan or Euclidean distance. But we also discussed that how to calculate distance between Boolean data types and categorical, nominal, ordinal, and ratio scale variables. And we also know that in actual data set, all the features may be of different data types. And for all features, we may have to use a different distance metric. And then we have to sum up the distance to get the final distance. So while summing up the distance, we may give different weight to the different features. So that is again domain dependent, that we may give the different weights to the different features, and accordingly we can take the final distance. So most of the algorithms start by assumption that we got this kind of a matrix, and then they start working from there. So the major clustering approaches which are there. So the partitioning algorithms. So today we will discuss few of those partitioning algorithms. So they start by constructing various partitions, and we usually have different criteria to decide whether the partition is good enough. If it is not good enough, we further partition it using the same criteria till we get a good partition. Or if it is, or we can also merge two partitions together to satisfy the criteria. So we should have some criteria to satisfy. So we will discuss today's the k-means algorithm is one of the popular algorithm in the partitioning algorithms. Then there are hierarchical algorithms. So hierarchical algorithms, so they decompose the data in a hierarchy. So we start from one positions and divide the data into two parts and keep on dividing in a particular hierarchy, either following some attributes, unless each partition or each part satisfies some criteria. So in this way, the hierarchical algorithms works. Then we have density-based algorithms. So most in the spatial algorithms, we define the density. So density is the distance, number of elements who are at a particular distance from a centroid. So as we discussed in the last lecture, that the centroid is defined as an element or an object having a uniform distance from all the other elements. So if the density around an element is more, so that density criteria is used rather than a simple distance criteria. So based on that, we divide the partitions. Then we have a grid-based algorithms. In the grid-based algorithms, we depict all the examples on some particular attributes, and we define the grid using those attributes. Suppose we have attribute A1 and A2, and maybe there can be multiple attributes. Even in the third dimension, we can have another attribute A3. Now we depict our example using on this n-dimensional space, and we treat it as a grid. So now by changing the grid size, suppose earlier we have represented using say suppose by 1 unit, and each element is looking separate. But if we increase the grid size, so some of the elements which may appear to be the same cell. So if we change the size of a grid, if we change the cell size, some elements may appear to be in the same cell, and then we can cluster them together. So just by changing the resolution of the grid, we can find out that which of the elements which are close together. And in the all the grid based algorithms, the choice of attributes and choice of the cell size, so that determines that how do we perform the clustering. And then there are models. Models are hypothesized or by created by using different means, and these models which are pre-created, and then they can be used for the clustering, and we pick up the best fit for the data model for the to the clustering. So today we'll discuss some of the algorithms in the first category, the partitioning algorithms. So in the partitioning algorithms, so our main aim is to construct the different partitions. So we have to divide our data set, so which is having n attributes, having n objects and different attributes into k clusters. So this is our aim, and we start with the initial data set, and with this aim we divide into the different partitions. So given a k, so here we are assuming that k is given to us. So since it is very difficult to find which is the best k, either your domain is deciding or expert is giving you the value of k. So our algorithm is supposed to find the k cluster in such a way that intra-cluster distance is less and inter-cluster distance is more. Now there could be multiple ways. So finding the global optimal way, it means you look at all the possibilities. So you go through enumerate all partitions. Obviously this is not possible. So this is not possible to do, and there are so many possible way to enumerate in k clusters. So obviously this we cannot do. That's why we have to go with the heuristic methods. Among those, the popular methods are the k-means and k-medoids algorithms. The k-means algorithm first came in 1967, and where each cluster is represented by the center or the mean value of the cluster. And the k-medoids, so it is a modification of the same algorithm in 1987. So it is popularly known as partition around medoids, or the PAM is the acronym used, which is more popular, the PAM algorithm. So here each cluster is represented by the one of the object of the cluster, that is the median of the object. So median is one of the object of the cluster. And now we are not taking mean. We will discuss that what are the main harms in taking the means. First we will discuss k-means, and then we will go towards the k-medoids algorithm. Now k-means algorithm can be implemented in the many ways. One of the popular way is we partition object into k known empty subset. So this first partitioning is done random. So sometimes people sort the elements and then do the partition and then divide it. So that is one way, but since sorting is very heavy operation, so this is not possible to do the sorting. So first partitioning is done randomly. We compute the seed points. Obviously, in the first iteration, seed points may not be the actual seed points that we will like, but in the first partition, we take them as a centroid. Then we compare each object with the centroid and assign them to the cluster. So when we assign them, then we keep on computing the new seed points. And we keep on doing this step till each object is being assigned to the new cluster. So till each object is being assigned to the new cluster, so we will do that. So it is like that we started with some seed point. So there is question that does we are not making the cluster on the basis of similarity. So whether we are making the cluster on the basis of similarity. So initially, so here the iteration is like that. So let me take one example. So I will take actually the two examples. In one example, I will discuss this algorithm, and in another example, I will discuss about the modification. Let's say you created the arbitrary clusters, and you put up certain points arbitrarily and decide about a new mean. So let's say this is a mean, and these are the arbitrary clusters, so which you have created around a mean. So there are certain points which are there in these clusters. So in the first iteration, these clusters are arbitrarily created. So, and mean values are then computed. Now it might be possible that in second iteration, when you are comparing, so this appears closer to this appear closer to this appear closer to this, but this point may appear closer to this one as well, rather than comparing this one. Even this point may appear closer to this cluster, and this point may appear closer to this one. So this could happen when we are creating arbitrary cluster. There could be certain point in the cluster which may appear closer to the other point or the means of the other cluster. So it means that we have to put that into the another cluster. So after first iteration, when we compare each object with the cluster means, it might be possible that one of the object which is earlier in a particular cluster now appear closer to the mean of other cluster. So we have to move that object to another part. So there is some cost involved in moving this. So once we move it to another cluster, the mean of the other cluster also changes. Mean of the other cluster changes. And in this way, we keep on doing these iterations till there are certain movement of object from one cluster to another cluster. And in the finally, you stop doing iteration till there is no point in a one particular cluster which is not nearer to the other cluster, which is nearer to its mean only. So this we keep on doing iterating in this way. So this is the basic way we do it. So initial seed points may not be the good one, but the choice of seed point, the initial seed point, so that lead to a local optima. We cannot guarantee a global optima. And once the algorithm stops, it means that all the points are nearer to its local mean, not to the another cluster. So in this way, so in this way, algorithm will stop after certain time. So in this way, the algorithm, the new means, so they may not be correct one. And initially it may start with the wrong cluster, but eventually we end up having a good means. Now comments. So strength is overall, if we compare the efficiency, so it depends upon three things: number of objects or the examples, the number of cluster that we want to create, and then the number of iterations. So usually it is found that the number of iterations are usually less as compared to the number of examples. If you have 1,000 examples, so number of iteration would be where it converges. So it usually converges into say 20 or 30 iterations, depending upon the value of k. So which is very less. And it terminates to local optima. And we cannot guarantee any we cannot guarantee that there is a global optima. So though a solution is a local optima. And we may improve it by using dynamic programming or by using technique like deterministic annealing or genetic algorithms. So there are certain improvement to this. So weaknesses applicable only when mean is defined. So we know that for categorical attribute, you cannot calculate arithmetic mean, or you have to do it, calculate the mean in a different way. So it is not easy to calculate the mean in the categorical, but you have to define it in a different way, but still it is not applicable in those algorithms directly. Now further is a specification of k, and so that is very tricky in certain domains. So in advance, it is very difficult to say how many clusters should be there. And people do hit and trial to find out with a different k to get a good approximation of this algorithm. Since we are taking mean, so it cannot handle noisy data, because if there is a noise, so it will ruin the value of mean. So it will change the value of mean, and our overall output will get affected, and even outliers will affect the our this algorithm. So final outcome would always be like that. If you have mean, so final outcome will be all the element will be those which are nearer to that mean. So final outcome is a convex shape clusters. So all the cluster will be of circular shape. So we cannot find a cluster with a non-convex shape. But if your data is that if it requires a non-convex shape like this one, then k-means cannot be used. So k-means algorithm is not used in practical wherever these problems are there. Wherever you have these problems, so k-means is not used. But there are many modifications people have proposed for this algorithm. So many variation which are suggested, so like the selection of initial k, and what are the different way to select it, the way we calculate the dissimilarity, and whether it is selected using the simple way that we had discussed in the last lecture, or some more different way to compare the attributes are considered, and the strategies to calculate the cluster means. Since arithmetic mean is again a to find, we have to sum up all the values and then take mean value. So whether we can pick up the most frequent value, which we call it as a mode value, as a mean, rather than taking actual arithmetic mean, we pick up the most frequent value. So then it becomes a k-mode algorithm. And in that case, it can also be used for categorical, because we are not taking arithmetic mean, but picking up the most frequent value. And for dissimilarity matrix, as we discussed in the last lecture, we can use various way to compare the dissimilarity, and frequency based way to find out the mean value. And in actual databases, we must have a variety of data types. So we have to use mixture of categorical and numerical type. In that case, it is called the K prototype, where prototype defines that how to calculate the difference. Now let's consider another way to variation of k-means. So in this variation, let's say you do not aware of what is the actual value of k. So the k is usually a number of clusters. But let's say if we fix the value of k in the starting of the algorithm, then it might be possible that in one cluster there are more items, and in another cluster there are less items. So that might be a possibility. So let's consider another way. Let's say I want to assign grades A, B, C to the students. So I want that there should be uniform number of students in A grade. So the uniform number of students in B, and uniform number of students in C. So here my problem lies different, that I want uniform number of students in each cluster. So here my problem is not like that I want to divide data into the k cluster, but my problem is to define the cluster uniformly. Let's say I want that there should be 4 students in each cluster. So here I am saying that there are 4 objects in each cluster. Now let's run this algorithm, and let's assume that I have a list of marks available for all the students. So marks for all the students are given to me, and I have to read these one by one. So I have to read all these marks one by one, and then I hope that outcome is in each cluster there are 4 students. So I start by working on this. So let's say the first student got marks 50. So obviously there is only one student I have read, so I put into one cluster. So let's say, so there is only one student I have read, so it is put into one cluster. So now let's second is the I have another student who is having marks, let's say 52. So again, since the second student is having marks 52, so I want 4, so it will be also in the same cluster. Now let's say the third student is having marks 90. So again, it can be in the same cluster because my criteria of having 4 is still satisfied. Now let's say the third student is having marks 60. So again, criteria is still being satisfied. Now let's say I read another student is having marks, let's say 51. Whenever I add this, I also calculate the mean value. Mean or median value that can be calculated from this. And now whenever I get new value, so I compare, since I have only one cluster, I compare it with this value. Obviously there is one cluster, it will be part of this, but the criteria that there can only be a 4 element in this, 4 object in this. So one element has to come out. So which element has to come out? So element having the largest distance from the mean value will come out. So when I add this into this, so now this cluster will have 5 values, but since criteria is not satisfied, I have to pick up one object which is largest or the farthest distance, which is 90. So it will now go into the new cluster. So that is my second cluster now being started created. So now second cluster 90 is part of that cluster. So now my new cluster now won't get 90, new cluster will have 50, it will have 51, which is another value, 52 and 60. So again, this cluster have 4 values. So this cluster have 4 values and another cluster has only 90. Yeah, again read new value, again read, and if it is, let's say it is coming out to be 78, again compare with the mean. So if it is closer to this one, I put it here. But if new value is, let's say 55, now it is closer to this cluster. Again, this cluster, if I add 55 here, then I have to pick out some value which is farthest from here. I have to pick up some value which is farthest from here because it cannot contain more than 4 value. So as soon as I add this value 60 here, its mean value gets changed. So in this way, if number of cluster I have not defined when I started algorithm, but in the end, when I read out all the values, I will have some cluster created where each value will be nearer to its mean, and and the number of k depends upon this criteria, that how much number of values I want in each cluster. Now after one iteration, after reading through the full database, it might be possible that my local mean is not good. So then I will iterate again. I again compare each value. Till there is no swapping between the elements in the clusters. So after one iteration, so this is not a stable way. It might be possible that the clusters which are created are not uniform. So again, I have to run it again. And again, after doing so many times, so till there is no swapping between values, then these clusters are defined. So in this way, in this example, we have not started with any value of k, but with the criteria of total values possible in each cluster. So the major outcome is all the cluster will be uniform and we need not to define k in the starting of the algorithm. After creating the first line of clusters, this algorithm runs in the same way as the k-means algorithm. We keep on iterating till these clusters get stabilized. So there is question that will the value of removed number depends upon the farthest from its cluster and closest from another cluster in which it is being transferred. So let's say at a particular instance, if you have 3 clusters available to you. So let's say there are 3 clusters at that time available to you. And at that time, so let's say you have to pick out one value from here. Now where to put it up? So you compare with other cluster. So the similarity. So you put in that cluster to whose it is closer. And you put into that cluster where it is closer. Now let's say this cluster already has 4 values. So as soon as you put it here, so what would happen? Its criteria would get violated. So another value from here has to move it out. So which has to put it into those cluster where it is a closer. So this would keep on happening. It might be possible that the criteria for all the cluster is being violated, then you have to create a new cluster. So suppose when you start with the initial value, after getting 4 value, 1 is created. After getting 8 values, and when you read the 9th value, the 3rd cluster will be created. And when you read the 4th value, when you read the 13th value, new cluster will be created. So new cluster will keep on creating to satisfy your criteria of having 4 value at a time. And after creating as many cluster as satisfied by your criteria, then even after that, whatever values which are there in the cluster, so they are not satisfied. These are not final values. You need to keep on iterating. You need to keep on iterating unless these clusters are get satisfied. Because when we move one value from one cluster to another cluster, so it is not the final where it should be kept, because the clusters are being created in the runtime in the first iteration. Only when all the clusters are created and when we run the second iteration, so these clusters starts getting fixed. So localization is not happening in the first iteration. In the first iteration, only the clusters are being created. So again, we are doing this since we are not, we don't know how many clusters to start with. So initially, rather than making random clusters, we can pick up this way to create the clusters. And finally, we have to run the same way, this way, the same way the k-means algorithm works. So I hope I am clear with this. So let's move on to another variation that is called the k-mediodes clusters. So in the k-mediodes, which is also known as the partitioning around mediodes. So here, rather than using the mean value, we pick up the median value. So rather than starting with the initial k values, we start with the initial set of median values in this. So so in that we start with the median values, and that's why it is called the partitioning around the mediodes. And so it works effectively for the small data set, but we know that finding median is very heavy operation. So it is non-statistical operation. We have to sort it out the values and then find out the median. So that's why this method is not good for large data sets. And so we have to do it only for the small data sets, even though this method handles the noise very well. So there are 2 ways, since we cannot run it for the large data set. So there are 2 ways, 2 algorithms which are the modification of this. So one is called the Clara. So and another is modification of this, which is called the Clarence. So this is proposed in 1990 and then another is 1994. We will go through these both first, and then to work on the spatial data structure, there is another method which is the Foxing Plus is there. So we will first quickly go through this PAM and then these two modifications. So PAM is first proposed in S plus language. S plus is now modified as a R language. And we know that many things in the Python is also borrowed from the S language itself. So initially this was proposed in that language. So we start with the K arbitrarily objects, K cluster. So again, this is same as in the K means. So then we compare each objects with the median and calculate the swapping cost, that how much cost is required when we swap one element from one cluster to another clusters. So we have compare. So we do it for all I objects and compare whether if you have to swap with the H object, so what is the cost? So cost is now you can define in various ways. It can be simple dissimilarity, or it can be simple comparison with the medians, or it can be comparison, weighted comparison with many features. So here in the S language, the way we define cost is dependent upon the programmer. So it can be defined in many ways. So like in the K means, we just compare the distance, or it could be a complex formula. So we are just comparing the cost. If cost is less, then we swap it. Otherwise, we work it in the same cluster. So we do it till there is no change. So we keep on doing this till there is no change. So this is just a variation in the K means. So one is we are calculating the median value, and another way is defining the cost is now dependent upon the programmer. So that is only change. So in the partitioning around medians. So the problem with the PAM algorithm is, so PAM is robust and K means we know that the presence of noise and outliers. So median is always the central value. So obviously we won't pick any outlier or noise. So it works efficiently, but it doesn't scale well. So every time, so here if you remember, so these many steps we have to take. So obviously the K is less value. So if actually n minus K is very much closer to n, so because K is less value, so it is n square time for each iteration. So it means that further, if you have to find the actual complexity, you have to, if there are t iteration, you have to multiply. So it means that this is n times more complex as compared to K means. Where K means was K and T, it is K and square T. So it is very complex algorithm. So obviously we have to now work around this. So rather than working on all the n samples, so people suggest why not to create clusters of a small sample and then apply on the full database. So rather than applying the clustering technique on full database, apply on a very small sample. So this is the first modification, which is called the Clara algorithm, proposed in 1990 and also implemented in the S language. So this is the clustering large applications where we pick up a small sample. So it is in S plus in 1990, and we pick up the sample, and in S language, so it is very much similar to R. So R is in fact modification of this. So we can pick sample in variety of ways, and it is up to us how do we pick up. And Clara itself defines a way to pick up the sample from the data set, and then we can apply the PAM on each sample separately and then give one clustering output, or we can apply only on the one or two sample only. So strength, obviously now we can deal with larger data sets. We can pick up sample which can fit in the memory and then apply algorithm, or what we can assume is it is applicable on the all data sets. Weakness, obviously the way we picking up the sample, whether it is the actual representation of the data set or not. So a sample may not be necessarily represent a good clustering if the sample is biased. So that's why it is modification is Clarence. So it is a clustering algorithm based on randomized search. So now we are not picking up sample arbitrarily, but we do the randomized search. So it is proposed by NG and Han in 1994. And here we draw the sample of neighbors dynamically. And the clustering process can be presented as a searching a graph to get a k-medians. So in this way, the clusters are created dynamically based on some criteria, and that criteria programmers can define, or it could be randomized. Based on that, we can pick up these clusters. So if local optimum is find, so Clarence start with the newly random selected nodes. Again, the same algorithm is run depending upon the newly nodes, and we keep on iterating unless we keep on getting the better clusters. Obviously, it is better than PAM because PAM cannot be executed on large data sets, and it is better than Clara because now we are not running it on any sample, arbitrary sample. We are randomizing it in such a way that it satisfies certain criteria. So in this way, these algorithms are good enough to apply on a large data sets. Even after 1994, there are so many modifications in these algorithms. So I'm just discussing the line in which these are being modified. So people come out with a way to provide data sets. Programmers have defined many modifications to these algorithms. And further, all modifications are also domain dependent and the way people define the domains. So Google, the traffic analysis, the way Google Maps are working. So this is a very good example that the way Google has defined these clustering algorithms. So whenever they define the particular traffic on a road, so they're not going through all the samples. So the way these are scaled in a real time, that they are doing it for the whole world in a real time. So these algorithms are being modified to work in real times. So that's why the spatial access data structures, people have improved the performance a lot for these algorithms. So clustering algorithms are all in a way that they, whenever they have to apply it on image processing, so they are modified in a different way. When they have to apply it on spatial data, so they are modified in a different ways. So even in now, whenever you get a data set, you have to define that to apply clustering algorithm in what way to, so that whether to apply on the full data set or on the smaller data sets. So in big data analytics, when we are running these algorithms in parallel, so how to divide the data set and so that these algorithm gives a best outcome. So that is also defined in these algorithms. So just to sum up today's session, so we have discussed a variety of clustering algorithms. So we have discussed the k-means, and then we have discussed the modification of k-means, and then partition around Meteor's PAM algorithm and its two modifications. So we will stop today here. So if you have any question, you can ask.